We have our geopolitical analyst, Richard Heydarian. Richard, maraming salamat. Thank you for joining us. Okay, was this something that you actually expected to see in your lifetime?
I don't, Lord, if you were with us, sana, yesterday, you would have seen that I very strongly argued that I believe that Duterte will not stay in exile in Hong Kong because that would have been a political suicide and harakiri, and ma-expose yung buong pamilya now, with whether it's a Sara impeachment case, whether it's potential criminal raps against Baste, Polong on different charges. So I think Duterte, being classic Duterte, he had to come back home, he had to be the hero, he had to be defiant. And for sure, ang narrative ng Duterte supporters, we saw that with Salvador Panelo, we saw that with different surrogates arguing that kawawa naman si Digong, matanda na, dapat alagaan natin siya, baka kung anong mangyari sa kanya, or yung sinasabi nila na wala naman jurisdiction yan, anong basihan. But here we are. I think the best case scenario for the Marcos administration right now is to directly hand over Duterte to Interpol and the ICC, because kung makabalik si Duterte sa Davao, good luck trying to catch him. I think what we saw with Kibuloy the other year, baka times 10 yung magiging challenge, because Duterte has a different stature, he's a former president, and of course existential crisis na ito sa buong pamilya nila, because if Duterte goes down, or Duterte goes to Hague rather, technically speaking, then most likely ang signal sa mga ibang tao is Marcos Jr. is ready for war. And if Marcos Jr. is ready for war, baka yung Senado must get its act together. Meaning, baka yung Sara impeachment ay biglang bibilis na yung procedures, or at the very least behind the scenes, sisiguraduhin ng administration na there will be enough votes all to impeach Sara Duterte. Because hindi na natin ma-imagine itong situation kung saan yung tatay ay pinapakulong sa international court and then hayaan na maging vice president pa rin yung daughter and use her vice presidency essentially as a kind of a bastion of resistance. Para sa akin, mahalaga din dito to see who will step up as the leader of the Duterte movement. Will it be Sara Duterte? Will it be Bongo, who's doing very well in the survey, number 2 or 3, but some would say he's doing very well in the surveys precisely because medyo dumidistansya na siya. But we saw Senator Bongo was there coordinating, he's there in NAIA, making sure they're coordinating it. So this is also the time to see who will step up as the heir apparent of Duterte. Is it Bongo? Is it Sara Duterte? And most importantly, let me add, Bato de la Rosa, is he going to be the loyal soldier? Is he going to stick through, even if potentially Bato de la Rosa could be also the next in the plane, if ever talagang plano ng gobyerno dito is idiretso na sa Hague yung mga nasa listahan ng warrant of arrest of the ICC.
Oo, kung mahanap nila si Senator Bato
Ayun na nga, kanina pa hinahanap. But
And yeah. And that's exact. Remember dun sa isang kabilang channel, sabi ni Bato, he's not ruling out pulling off yung kay Senator Lacson. Remember back in the days, si Senator Lacson wanted kay Arroyo and then tumakas. And then eventually came back with the political vengeance. But if Bato does that, then that means he's not a soldier willing to fight back. Because remember, Digong came back. Digong came back. Digong could have stayed in Hong Kong, and ang suspicion nga namin, China.
Pwede magtago.
So if Digong comes back and then Bato escapes, I'm not sure that's a good look for Bato also.
Hindi, yun nga. And then, we are talking about a solid, long-time Duterte ally in Senator Bato de la Rosa. Pero nasaan yung mga supporters ngayon ng mga Marcoses, ng mga Dutertes, especially we're just a few months away from the elections.
Oo. At ang epekto nito, no? Magiging epekto nito sa polls.
Sorry, I'm cutting you guys kasi hinahintay ako sila Ron.
Yeah, go.
May live din kami ngayon. No, I mean, quickly on this, para sa akin, mas mahalaga pang gagawin ng mga grupo na hindi kasama sa, team administration versus team Duterte. Right? Because, ikaw, kung ang pangalan mo ay Aquino, Bam Aquino, what are you gonna say? Is this a political issue? Or this is about human rights and rule of law? Akbayan party list, si Persa Sendanya, and I expect also Riza Ontiveros, may have already made statements already along these lines na susuportahan nila ang hustisya para sa mga libo-libong biktima ng allegedly ng extrajudicial killing sa ilalim ng Duterte. So I think this is the time for the civil society to come out, for the traditional opposition, for progressive groups to come out and say, hindi ito usapin ng politika, hindi ito usapin ng hidwaan ng Duterte at Marcos administration, because I'm sure ang daming conspiracy theory. Bakit ngayon? Actually, honestly for me, sana lumabas ito last year. Because ngayon, actually, the momentum has favored the Dutertes dahil sa GAA issue, the whole worst budget ever rhetoric. So for me, this is actually not the perfect timing. So mahalaga na for other groups na hindi kasama sa Team Duterte or Team Marcos to to come out and say, hindi ito usapin ng politika, ito po ay usapin ng karapatan pang tao, usapin ng rule of law at ating saligang batas. At dahil hindi gumana yung ating mga korte, libo-libong namatay. Ilang kaso bang nakita natin na umutsad pagdating sa extrajudicial killings? Halos wala. I mean, kay Kian de los Santos lang and a few others there. So dapat klaro din sa stance nila yung traditional opposition. So effectively, Duterte ICC issue will be an election issue also. So at the same time, it will be an election issue in addition dun sa Sara impeachment issue and the other criminal cases against the Duterte family. So hindi ito ordinaryong midterm elections. This is a midterm election that is both a referendum on BBM but also a referendum on our constitutional democracy. Okay ba tayo to have people like Duterte's around? Okay lang ba tayo to defy the ICC or cooperate with ICC? Yun po yung mga tanong na dapat tatanungin natin sa ating mga voters. Huwag natin kalimutan ang pinag-usapan dito ay Den Haag, right? The Hague, right? Netherlands. Ito po ay pinaka-developed na country on the world, arguably, right? So kung ang concern nila is the health of the president, taking care of him, making sure na dahil 80 years old na siya and all of that, don't worry about it. The ICC has every reason to make sure that President Duterte is taken care of, that his health is taken care of. First world pang welfare program dyan sa Netherlands. So I hope itong health issue na yan hindi gagawin lang excuse, parang palusot and all, because we're talking about the ICC taking care of him. Lastly, I want to say something on this, Lord. No, remember, mahalaga din dito para sa ICC itong issue na to because they had warrants of arrest against Putin, walang gun.
Netanyahu.
Warrants of arrest against Netanyahu, well, guess what? Nagalit pang US sa kanila and baka masanction pa sila ni Trump. Again, warrant of arrest against Taliban leaders, ewan ko, Lord, saan natin hanapin? Anong kuweba, di ba? But ito, may chance na nila to finally get a former head of state to justice. So kung ikaw ay ICC, aalagaan mo talaga na ito yung golden boy mo. Kumbaga, I'm saying it ironically, to make sure that Duterte is safe, sound, healthy, so that he could face trial.
Yes.
So I think this is also a moment of vindication for ICC. And lastly, I wonder anong sasabihin ng Trump administration ngayon. Dahil anti-ICC sila, but if this is a pro-China leader we're talking about allegedly, then biglang baka iba yung inip ng hangin or yung tono ng US government.
Our
because
friend Rodrigo.
different leader countries to support us on this. I'm sure the different embassies will release statement on this in the coming hours. Na ito yung rule of law, this is about justice.
Richard, sorry, you're saying na ito yung pagkakataon ng ICC na patunayan ang sarili nila. No? Kasi mostly ang nakakalawit nila ay mga dating mga militia leaders o former leaders, let's say mga Yugoslavian states na maraming akusasyon din, no? Mga crimes against humanity, genocide, etc. Pero mostly African warlords at si Duterte ba'y kauna-unahang Asyano?
Not Asian, because Afghan, right? Afghans are Asian.
That's
That's
right, yes,
so he will not have the distinction of the first Asian to be tried, but he will most likely have the distinction of the first
Southeast.
former head of state, very popular person to be there. So baka he'll be the most high-profile ever person to face trial in the ICC. And yung existence ng ICC, yung raison d'etre nila, yung international reputation nila, everything is at stake. And let me just add last point. Last year, I was in Europe, I was in Germany, I talked to one head of state, I talked to officials. Lahat sila sabi nila, we implored BBM to please cooperate with ICC kasi nakasalalay dito yung rules-based international order. You cannot come to us and ask help on West Philippine Sea based on international law. And then pagdating sa international law with Duterte, biglang sabihin mo, ay ayaw namin dyan. You have to be consistent about that. So this is also about West Philippine Sea. This is about the Philippines getting maximum diplomatic support and saying that it's a champion of rule of law. Lastly, Lord De Vera, we have been discussing this, the ironies of the time, right? It took a Ferdinand Marcos Jr. to potentially finally bring at least one big Duterte to justice. So this is a historic moment, in many ways also an ironic moment, I would say.
Alright, bitin kami sa usapan na to, Richard, pero alam ko, makakausap din namin makakausap mo na si Ronald Llamas.
Pero maraming salamat. Soon.
Yeah,
I'll talk to you guys soon. See you later.
Talk to you again. Alright. Yan po mga kapatid,
Okay,
Professor Richard Heydarian.